You're listening to Vilified, Season 1, Episode 6, The Drugs in Me. Merriam-Webster defines psychosis as a mental disorder characterized by a disconnection from reality. As a mentally ill person, this is a real possibility. A slip-up in meds or stressors can launch an otherwise stable person into a nightmare of epic proportions. We've been programmed that drugs from a trusted pharmaceutical company we can trust and believe in it and our doctors. Many well-meaning people advise us to give it time or not to question their care, turning away from one's own self and their intuition. But what if those drugs turns us into a monster, hell-bent on the death and destruction of oneself or others? When does it become apparent that we either go over the head of our doctor for a second opinion or to trust your body's reaction in real time? If you've been here before, welcome back. And to those just finding me, hello. This show is a deep dive into the mind of the mentally ill, what they, including me, deal with every day. The truth is a hard pill to swallow. Warning: if you have an aversion to crude language and visceral honesty, well, I'm sure you can find more G-rated podcasts. I have a tendency to talk about murder, torture, and violence, taboo topics. If you're squeamish or easily triggered, this ain't the show for you. Viewer discretion is advised. Ready? Here we go. My name is Janae, and this is my story. Isn't life funny? I mean, contradictions are everywhere. What does that mean? If your boyfriend starts accusing you of cheating because he's cheating on you, the more you fail, the more likely you are to succeed. Or this little gem: the more money you make, the more problems you have. In fact, a doctor once told me regarding my meds, it will get worse before it gets better. Like, what the hell does that mean? But his words proved true. In the human guinea pig episode, I said that the medicine was trial and error until out came a stable brain, but with an exterior that was obese. And don't get me started on the side effects. You've heard of them, right? You tuned into Super Bowl 8 Million or the latest soap opera where the stepmom who drank incessantly died mysteriously again. And the latest unpronounceable drug that cures, excessive happiness? But it's the side effects that catch your attention. Dizziness or nausea, drowsiness or fatigue, frequent urination, dry mouth or increased thirst, hand, face, and muscle twitching, which I have, acne or skin rash, blurred vision, headaches, cramps, loss of sex drive, constipation, and how can I forget weight gain? It's the gift that keeps on giving. People are quick to call overweight people slobs or lazy when they have no idea how a person got that way. I can say with confidence, I didn't get this body from being lazy. Beneath this excessive me is an athlete that just wants to be seen and heard. If I could find a lifestyle that didn't require me to starve myself and was sustainable, I would do it in a heartbeat. I am sure those who've lost their shape for peace of mind would do it too. Keep that in mind the next time you feel like degrading someone for their outer shell. Now, I don't claim to be an expert or live in a fairy tale one-fits-all reality. Yes, there are some overweight people who did it to themselves, just like there are some lucky people who've had no change in their weight. The 6 types of mental health meds are antidepressants, which are used for depression, but also for some types of personality disorders. Antipsychotics that treat schizophrenia and helps restore the chemical balance in your brain. Mood stabilizers used by mainly bipolar people to control the emotional swing. Depressants for people to stay calm. And I can't pronounce this word. Anxiolytic for anxiety. And stimulants, I forgot that one, for people who have attention deficit hyperactive disorder or ADHD. The question on most mentally ill individuals' minds is, how long does it take to work? I cannot speak for any of you, but mine takes 1 to 2 days at the most. A lot of doctors throw out 2 to 3 weeks, but that's not for everyone. If you have any of these symptoms, though, you need to consult with your doctor or go to the ER. Wheezing, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing. Chest pain, fainting or dizziness, numbness or weakness, bleeding that doesn't stop, abdominal pain, severe headaches or head injury, coughing or vomiting blood, blood in urine or diarrhea, and sudden inability to speak, see, walk, or move. This show is forged with honesty, and when I tell you I have experienced a few of these major symptoms and did not heed going to see a doctor, I was miserable. And if you don't listen to anything else I say, listen to this. If you feel unlike yourself at all, if the little voice inside your head says something is wrong, seek help. Call 911 or whatever service is emergency in your country immediately. If it's after hours or on the weekend, go to an after hours clinic. Your life is valuable, but I feel I don't have to stress that because all my listeners are brainiacs. How did I know that? Didn't you download my podcast? Well, there you go. Story time. I have tried just about all the sleep aids out there. See, I don't fall asleep easily, especially with over-the-counter pills. One I tried helped me sleep for a few weeks, but my doctor had to keep upping the dosage, which slowly aided in me adding 10 pounds or 4.5 kilograms a month. Turns out they needed to pull out the big guns from me because of my weight. The one that I take now makes me pass out. Yes, you heard me right. I pass out. That means I cannot drive after taking them. I cannot be eating. I have to be laying down, about to fall asleep. One time, I was making a late night dinner and sat on my couch to wait for it to heat up in my microwave. Next thing I knew, I woke up hours later, seated in the same spot. Another night, I was snacking, and when I woke up, the food was still in my mouth, chips in hand. Just recently, I took my meds and was in my office. Next thing I knew, my son was shaking me awake in my gaming chair. I pray with all my heart that you all have competent doctors. Why? Because the motherfuckers are handing out death sentences if you aren't. What do I mean? It's estimated that 1.5 injuries occur every year because of a pharmacist misreading sloppy handwriting. That's like 7,000 people in a year, in America alone. The doctor I have automatically sends my prescriptions to the pharmacy, so no worries for me. Can you say the same? In that vein, if you have to switch doctors because your old doctor moves or resigns, make sure the next doctor doesn't, under any circumstances, takes you off your regimen that already works for you. Why? Mood swings can turn a stable person into a depressed person and increase the self-harm tendencies. I recommend having one person in your support system to be alerted with every change of your medication or doctor. Also, keep track of your symptoms and tell that person to monitor you. For me, I have M, my daughter, to monitor me, while my other writing best friend also does the same. I told her if I message her and do not sound like myself, to ask me if I've taken my meds for the day, urge me to talk to my doctor ASAP. Before I go, I would like to highlight a case that should have been dealt with from the beginning. A case that raised all the red flags. Warning: this will contain violence towards children. If you cannot handle that, stop the recording here, and I will see you next week. Andrea Pia Kennedy was born on July the 2nd, 1964, a Cancer. Andrea is an American woman from Houston, Texas, and she suffered mental illness from a young age. At 17, Yates confessed to a friend that she wanted to commit suicide. She graduated high school, though, as the class valedictorian in 1982. She met her soon-to-be husband, Russell Yates, in 1989, and they married in April 1993. From the start, the couple decided to have as many babies as nature allowed. The couple had 4 children when the Depression reared its ugly head again. This time, it was postpartum depression. Her husband once found that Andrea tried to commit suicide by overdosing on pills. She was then prescribed antidepressants and she was hospitalized. After leaving, she begged her husband to allow her to die and held a knife up to her neck. Again, she was hospitalized and prescribed Haldol. This was a turning point, and it worked immediately. But in 1999, she had a nervous breakdown, ending in 2 suicide attempts and 2 hospitalizations. Her psychiatrist urged Russell not to have any more children, but they had their 5th and final child in 2000. Andrea was stabilized until her father died in 2001, and she stopped taking her Haldol and began reading the Bible feverishly. She also stopped feeding her youngest child, a baby, and became severely incapacitated, so much that she required another hospitalization. The couple moved, and she once again got another doctor and slipped into a catatonic state in May of 2001. This was when she talked herself out of drowning her children. The horrible plan would once again arise and culminate in June of the same year. That day, Russell left her to watch their 5 children while he went to work. Her current doctor urged him not to do that. Russell had asked his mother to arrive within the hour, but that gave Andrea time to fill a bathtub full of water and take her children one at a time to drown them. I will not go into detail of the trial, but currently she is in a mental institution after pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. One of my episodes dealt with religion and its effect on the mentally ill. I encourage you to listen to it. But religion did play a huge role in the tragedy, that and the negligent spouse. Now you can see how not taking the right medication can lead to tragedy, and how not having a competent support system, or at least one person that can watch after you when you are prescribed a new drug. I speak from being tried on a certain drug that made me homicidal. Who knows what could have happened if I didn't tell M. I recommend looking up all your drugs and people's reviews of it. Be proactive in your life, especially when it comes to any and all medication. Well, my friends, this is where I leave you. I hope you learned something in this episode about the dangers of medication and what demons can come about from not taking the right kind. While I researched this case, I got the idea of featuring a famous mentally ill person, as I've been doing. Next week, I'm going to talk about my favorite subject, artists. One that you may not know, but you know of their work. I'll give you a hint, the scream. Let me know if you want more like this. I can be reached at my email, janaethewriter@yahoo.com, as well as my website, www.janaewriteit.com. Also, you can support this podcast by going to my Patreon at www.patreon.com/JanaeWritesIt. Well, take good care of yourselves and your loved ones. And as always, stand tall, my dears.